Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 13th annual Interfaith Dinner here at the George Washington University. My name is Timothy Kane, and I oversee GW Religious Life as Associate Director of the Multicultural Student Services Center. I would like to welcome President Knapp, Provost and Lori Lerman, faculty and staff, and honored community partners. I would also like to welcome most of all the students who are here with us tonight. You are walking the walk of religious diversity and inclusion here at the George Washington University by your very presence. This year's Interfaith Dinner honors Native American Heritage Celebration, which runs the entire month of November. Please visit our website, the MSSC website, for a list of all the wonderful events we have planned. There is a Haudenosaunee saying, "One bowl, many spoons," which expresses the idea that we are all connected in the sharing of our resources. It is based in the great law of peace, which binds the 6 Haudenosaunee Native tribes together. These tribes and nations are the Seneca, Cayuga, Onondaga, Oneida, Mohawk, and Tuscarora nations. It is in this spirit of unity that we convene tonight's dinner. One bowl symbolizes that we all are drawing from a shared source of spirituality and faith. Many spoons symbolizes the unique and personal ways in which we experience and express that spirituality and faith. In the Haudenosaunee Great Law of Peace, peace is not simply the absence of war. Peace is a state of mind. The Great Law of Peace also teaches us that each of us possesses spiritual power. And as we go through life, experiencing new things, learning more, meeting new people, we learn that our spirituality is connected to that of every other person on the planet, and our spirit grows from that understanding. So the ultimate power of the great law rests in how well we nurture our sense of self in relation to others and their well-being, those in our tribe, those in our community, and those in our nation. Inside your printed programs, you will also see the traditional Haudenosaunee Thanksgiving address entitled "Greetings to the Natural World." This beautiful prayer speaks of our interconnectedness, and that is the spirit in which we are coming together tonight. Now I would like to invite to the stage Brian Barlow, President of the GW Native American Student Association.
Sionigat, Digega Deligwe, Dawador Brian Barlow, Gijaligi. Hello, my name is Brian Barlow, and I'm from Talc, Oklahoma, capital of the Cherokee Nation, and I'm Cherokee. I'm honored to open up tonight's event for you, and to all the elders in the room, I'd like to apologize for speaking in front of you and above you. I was asked to speak on behalf of the Native American Student Association this evening, and to speak on Native spirituality. Initially, this was a hard concept for me to grasp, to wrap my head around. There are 566 federally recognized tribes in the United States. If you look at the centerpieces on your table, many of these tribes are listed there. Many of these tribes are these tribes each have their own specific languages or dialects. They have their own traditions. They have their own creation stories, and they have their own beliefs about what follows after death. Moving forward, I thought it was a neat thing to mention that the flute music that you heard coming in, many times members of tribes use this flute music to release spiritual tensions, to release bad thoughts, and to welcome in good feelings. I personally was raised in a Christian home, but with a touch of Cherokee traditions. When I was asked to speak on my faith this evening, I found myself a little bit split. I'm here to represent the Native American community, but my faith is a little bit different. I actually called up an elder from home and asked him to recount the creation story for me, to know where my people come from, and to know what my traditional beliefs are. I've always known my creation story, and I've always known where we came from, and I've heard many creation stories over the years from people from very many different tribes. My Cherokee beliefs have always complemented my Christian faith, and this is true for many Native communities. Most Native faiths believe in one creator, one life giver, one source of life. In Lakota, the word for God is the same for mother, and it comes from the rock. Our mothers are our rocks, and the earth is our rock. I should also mention that there are many Native communities individuals who do also solely practice their Native traditional beliefs. If there's nothing else that I want you to take home tonight, as we will learn tonight, faith is a personal decision, and that is a personal relationship between an individual and what they believe in. I certainly do not represent all Natives in my own personal beliefs. It is this marriage of my faith-based beliefs that make up a large part of who I am. I'm now going to share with you the best example of that philosophy I can. It was something my grandpa taught me, and it is the Lord's Prayer in Cherokee. So if y'all could bow your heads with me, I will start. Ogi doda, gala ladil hehi, gala quodiu, ge sesti, ge jado I, jagun wiyuhi, ge sa, we ganu nogi I, gane Elohi, we ni galista, hada na diski, nasukia na ganula di, gini galisti ha, ni hadoda tlusa, o galista tu di, sigiska go hi iga, digeska in si kuno, deski tu gaskia, jidiga yochi niho, Jojistugi, ale tlasti udago li yedeli, gesun we diskayatia unsna, singiyu dad leski inski koski ini, uye, gesun in jajeli gayeno, jagyu wiyuhi, gesun in, ali jalini digleri, gesun in, agile eja le quodi, Nigo Ili. Amen. We do have Heritage Month events throughout this month, and we will have a panel on the mascot issue later this month, as well as we'll be sending some Indian tacos on the 14th. And I would love to see each and every one of you there. Thank you for sharing this evening with me. Wado.
Thank you, Brian. Now it is my honor to introduce to you Dr. Stephen Knapp, the 16th president of the George Washington University.
Thank you, Timothy, and thank you, Brian, for both the eloquence of your remarks and also for sharing with us the beautiful tones and rhythms of a prayer in Cherokee, which I think many of us have never had the privilege of hearing in the past. This is a really remarkable tradition at our university, and one of the things that makes me so proud of this tradition is the fact that it was entirely a tradition, our Interfaith Dinner, which emerged from student efforts and student commitments to peace and understanding and to what we're calling tonight cultivating community. You know, those of you who are new students, and we do have freshmen among us, one of our speakers will be a freshman we'll hear from shortly. And you may not know the origin of this particular event on our campus. It actually started after the September 11th attacks in 2001. And there was a concern about the reaction that Muslim students in particular might experience from persons of other faiths because of the September 11th attacks on the World Trade Center and, of course, on the Pentagon. And it was our students, Jewish and Muslim together, who came up with the idea of creating a communal event, and that event is this dinner, which we've celebrated every single year since that occurred. In fact, it was originally called an iftar dinner. It was called an interfaith iftar. Iftar is the dinner that breaks the fast on each day of the holy Muslim month of Ramadan. But because Ramadan, as a result of its positioning via the lunar calendar, changes its time of the year when compared to the Western calendar, we have renamed it just in 2009, actually. We renamed it the Interfaith Dinner because it wasn't always coinciding with Ramadan. And that's just one of the ways in which this tradition has continued to grow and to develop and become ever richer, I think, year after year. So I'm delighted to see that this year we're adding a focus on Native American traditions. Remember, this started out as Jewish and Muslim students together, sharing their food, breaking bread together, sharing their prayers, listening to each other's songs. And it has now grown to include a very wide range of faiths and also of secular spirituality, as you'll hear. And at the same time, we are now able to embrace that remarkable multiplicity of Native American traditions, which it's kind of mind-boggling to think of the number of separate traditions that Brian so eloquently described. So I think this is something that we can point to, and it's interesting, in a way it's sort of symbolically appropriate that we have that din over there in the corner, because this is a little bit of an oasis, on our campus, this interfaith dinner that happens every year, in which we get to come together, share each other's traditions, reflect on the sources of our values and our ideals, the value of our commitment to each other, the care that we show for fellow members of our university community. We sort of step aside from the welter of activity and from the noise and the bustle of everyday life in a university to celebrate this time together and to listen, open our hearts and listen to each other in a way that our students have led us to encounter and to experience. So I think it's a great testament to the kind of student body that we've brought together here in the heart of this nation's capital. I think it symbolizes, we're all thinking about Election Day, which is happening today, and it symbolizes, in the midst of a world that's in many ways torn and separated, what it means to really cultivate community and to harvest hope. So I have, unfortunately, my hustle and bustle goes on, and so I'm going to have to move on at this point, but I did want to at least have an opportunity to be with you for part of this evening and to congratulate our students on the leadership you have shown to our entire university community in not only creating, but then year after year sustaining this wonderful event. Thank you all very much, and do enjoy the evening.
Hello again. I hope you're all enjoying this incredible meal that's been provided for us through our partners with Sodexo. I've had a few bites and it's really delicious, so I hope you've been really enjoying it yourself. Feel free to keep eating during the rest of our program. So as is the tradition with our Interfaith Dinner, we've invited student volunteers to share a little bit about their faith and belief systems. And it's my privilege now to introduce to you the first of our 6 speakers, Kiana Davis.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kiana Davis, and I am here tonight representing the Jewish Student Association of GW. I spend a lot of time thinking about my faith journey and where it has led me. A great mentor of mine reminds me often about how important it is that we all know our story and that we know how to communicate it to others effectively. My Jewish story has always been about the beauty and power of community. I grew up in Long Island, New York with Jewish parents. This part of my story will not sound unfamiliar to most of you here at GW. My parents were not very religious, but did find a community in our local synagogue, which became my second home as I grew up. My fellow congregants became like another family to me. I craved Friday night Shabbat services because they were a guaranteed time each week of peacefulness, family, and friends. Over time, the religious traditions came to mean as much to me as the community did, and began to feel like an immovable part of my life. Here at GW, I have been lucky enough to find my community with Hillel and the JSA. When I arrived at college, I thought I would leave some of my Judaism behind. It had defined me so strongly in high school, and I wanted to explore who I was outside of that framework while living on my own in DC. But I proved rather quickly to myself that leaving that part of me behind was impossible, and it was a mistake to even try. It is laughable now, as I stand here representing the JSA at GW's annual Interfaith Dinner, to tell people that I thought I wouldn't be involved in Jewish life at GW, as if that were possible, as if I could have shed myself of my own identity. My story is defined through my Jewish identity. It guides who I am, what I do, and how I want to live my life. Jewish traditions and faith provide me with peace of mind. My Hillel community has become my family away from home and are the people who get me through my days. How we tell our story is so important. How we tell our stories about relating to one another is equally as important. Tonight, we share our personal stories, but we also ask ourselves, what is our collective story? What is the story of your interfaith community? What about GW's? What is the story of our interfaith community in the world today? I have been lucky to meet amazing people in the interfaith community throughout my life, both in and out of GW. Our stories have so much overlap. We all, on some level, define ourselves by our faith. I know it from my discussions with Farah and Nico of the Muslim Student Association and GW Catholics. I know it by the fact that we are all here tonight to celebrate our own faiths and how we relate and how they relate us to the interfaith community. How we can all come to tell one another's stories and develop a collective story is as important as being able to tell your own. Tonight's theme was Cultivating Community, Harvesting Hope. I have shared with you how my Jewish identity developed first through community. My community here at GW is largely faith-based, not just with the JSA, but with the interfaith community as well. This is how we harvest hope. We stand together. Standing together, this interfaith community can shake the world. Standing together, our collective stories show unity and strength. Standing together, our story is louder and will make itself heard. I hope tonight is simply a preview of the story we will all write together this year. Thank you, and have a good evening.
Warjiki Khalsa, Warjiki Fateh. Good evening, everybody. My name is Patti Sandhu, and I'm celebrating my first autumn at GW as a freshman. I greet you with the traditional Sikh saying, literally meaning that Khalsa belongs to God and victory belongs to God. Sikhism was founded in the 15th century in North India by Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Today, there are more than 27 million Sikhs around the world, with about 700,000 in the U.S. Sikhism is a monotheistic religion and stresses the importance of doing good actions rather than merely carrying out rituals. Sikhs believe in the equality of all people, regardless of skin, color, history, caste, gender, age, or religion. Sikhism preaches that people of different races, religions, or sects are all equal in the eyes of God. It teaches the full equality of men and women. Women can participate in any religious function of any ceremony or lead the congregation in prayer. It is part of our faith and duty to society to not only take care of ourselves, but make sure that every human being is being treated with respect. In fact, Sikhs practice Vankichakna, meaning that a Sikh must contribute 10% of his or her income to the needy to reduce the suffering felt by others. 500 years ago, Guru Nanak, the founder of Sikhism, taught a message to love. He spoke about the commonalities of all humankind and the unique opportunity we have to create and discover the divinity within us all. Human rights and justice form a cornerstone of the Sikh belief. They're the primary foundations of this religion. History has shown us countless examples of Sikhs sacrificing for the cause of religious freedom and justice, from fighting for Indian independence to participation in the World War I and II under the British flag. The continued fight for justice and equality today, as they petition the United States government to allow Sikhs to keep their turbans and long uncut hair in the military. As the religion tells us, we must remain as all saint soldiers. To be a Sikh means to be a student, to learn from others while also allowing people with other beliefs to coexist. Sikhs do not ask to join their religion, and they want you to simply do good and cause no undue harm. They ask through meditation and reflection that Christians become better Christians, Jews become better Jews, Muslims become better Muslims, and Sikhs become better Sikhs. In the spirit of Jyoti Kla, our high spirits, and to celebrate harvesting hope, I invite you to our annual Guru Nanak Langar next Saturday, November 15th at 12 at the Mid-Campus Quad. This event is to commemorate our founding Guru, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, and to promote peace and equality amongst all of God's children. There will be free vegetarian Indian food at the event, so we hope to see everyone there.
Hey guys, how's everyone doing? My name is Will Bonnet, and I am the president of the GW Secular Society. Unlike many that are present at this dinner, I am not affiliated with any faith. I am an atheist, informed by my worldview that no religion shall carry preeminence over the fundamental right of human expression. I shared this worldview with the namesake of this very institution, George Washington, who stated in a letter to the Hebrew congregation of Rhode Island that the government of the United States gives to bigotry no sanction, and to persecution no assistance. We are a secular nation, and it is this secularism that has granted us this very dinner. My father is a U.S. diplomat, and with him I traveled to many different nations across several continents. During these travels, I've had the opportunity to witness firsthand what life is like in nations that do not share these principles. Nations which impose a ruling religion over their citizens do not just forsake religious liberty, but they also abolish free human expression across all demographics. To restrict expression for one aspect of society is to restrict it for all of society, as our collective knowledge, values, and cultures are strengthened when they interact with different identities. For many, religion is one of the most important aspects of their identity. To legislate against it, including against those without a religion, is to dehumanize them. We are fortunate to live in an age where such injustices are becoming less commonplace. Through technology, we have managed to democratize the wealth of human expression across the globe, but this will be a constant struggle that will require the cooperation of everyone. It is fortuitous then that we have among us student leaders in our various communities and organizations that share with one another the drive to express ourselves freely and to respect each other's rights to do so. It is this value that a free world is built upon. More importantly, we're not just a bumper sticker that proclaims our ability to merely coexist. Together, we make up the population of our university. Together, we are the future leaders of our generation. Together, we thrive with purpose and determination. It's not just a matter of live and let be, it's about active participation in each other's lives, in each other's struggles, and in each other's quests for human dignity. I welcome everyone of all faiths and non-faith to join the GW Secular Society during our support group meetings. We gather once a month to privately discuss concerns, issues, and feelings about a wide array of pressing topics. For many, you have your spiritual leaders to turn to in times of need. But for those without faith, we aim as a student org to provide a safe, non-judgmental community that will be there for those in need of like-minded ears, especially in light of several tragedies on campus this year. In closing, I would like to thank everyone involved in the organization of this dinner for the opportunity to speak and for the free grub, and have a good night.
Now please welcome the Voice Gospel Choir.
I love you, Lord, and I lift my voice to worship you, oh my soul, rejoice. Take joy, my King, in what you hear, and let it be a sweet, sweet sound in your ear.
Thank you very much, the Voice Gospel Choir. And now our next student speaker is Victoria Liu.
Hello, everyone. 大家好. Venerable monks of Buddha Dharma and all other present here this evening, including members of DC Metro Area Buddhist community, my name is Lü Nianci, and my English name is Victoria. I'm currently a sophomore here at Eliot School of International Affairs. First off, I would like to thank you all for having me here at this meaningful event. It's a great honor to stand here and represent the Buddhist group at GW. And I think we are all very fortunate to have a chance here to learn more about different religions and to share our views. I'm a Buddhist. Originally from China, I was born and raised in a Buddhist family. My grandmother used to have this little prayer room in our house, so my childhood memory is largely about her holding a folded scripture and intoning prayers to me. I was able to memorize the entire Wu Liang Shou Jing, which is the Sutra of Infinite Life, when I was 6, even though I didn't know what it meant. In fact, even now, I'm not sure that I can fully understand the true meaning of it. But what I do know from the murmurs of my grandmother and from the Buddhist religion is the importance of random act of kindness. For example, when I see someone struggling with heavy items in the street, I will definitely help. I myself wouldn't even slap a mosquito. And I love to smile at people, I recycle, and I do everything I can to protect and improve the environment. And I do all these with a grateful heart. All these random acts tell the truth of being a Buddhist. We cultivate community and we harvest hope. In fact, I believe it is the same in terms of every other religion. That I don't necessarily need to pray every day to become a Buddhist. All I need to do is to keep this Buddha in my heart and keep this kindness in my heart. Finally, I would like to end my speech with a few words of wisdom from Buddha as an encouragement to all of us. On life's journey, faith is nourishment. Virtuous deeds are a shelter. Wisdom is light by day, and right mindfulness is protection by night. If a man lives a pure life, nothing can destroy him. If he has conquered himself, nothing can limit his freedom. Thanks to all of you, especially thanks to Mr. Kane and the staffs of University Events Office and Professor Hebar, of whom facilitated my speech here this evening. I wish you all have a great night. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Great. So my name is Arya Murgi. I'm a senior majoring in history, and I'm here tonight representing GW Catholics at the Newman Center. Woo! Yeah, that's right. They're my people. So I think we all can agree that the most identifiable symbol of Christianity is the cross. So I'm not trying to be cliched or anything, but I have a cross with me today. So when people look at the cross, some people see symbol, other people derive deeper meaning from it. Some people just see, two planks of wood just nailed together. But when I look at the cross, I see the themes for this evening: hope and community. In his most profound work, and probably his most famous work, Victor Hugo said, "To love another person is to see the face of God." I think we all can remember that from the musical adaptation with Russell Crowe. But what is hope? We've been talking a lot about it, but what is it? So just definition, hope is the extreme want for each of us to strive towards something that is otherwise impossible or next to impossible to attain. And for us, that hope is God. We seek, as Catholics, full union with God, and we believe that's only attainable really in heaven. Now, getting to heaven is really difficult, not gonna lie. It's hard, right? Striving for holiness is hard. But fortunately, we don't have to do it by ourselves, because we as human beings were made for the other. Look at your own lives. We were all made for relationships. We seek relationships with other. And so just as much as we seek God, God seeks us. And just as we seek the other seeks us. So, that's one way to look at the cross. But we don't only look to community for companionship or for our own personal pleasure. That it's great that we have that. But I would argue that community is more often cultivated in times of hardship, in the wake of tragedy. If you just reflect on the past year and a half, I think we as a GW community have all experienced some degree of tragedy with the untimely and unfortunate losses of our peers, our friends, and fellow students. And when I look at how that affected the GW community, I see that we all came together. Even in our own Newman Center community, we come together in amazing ways during tragedy. We support one another, and we just are there to love one another, which ultimately is what community is about. But how we move from the point of grieving to the point of healing is when we harvest hope from that community that's cultivated as a result of that tragedy. And we as Christians believe, and Catholics specifically, believe that the greatest tragedy of all was Christ's death on the cross, where he died for our sins and he hung for 3 hours suffering, essentially suffocating to death. But with his tragedy, he gave us this amazing, unifying faith family that every Sunday we come together and we celebrate. Well, we first remember his death, but we also celebrate the fact that with his death, heaven was made attainable for us, our greatest hope. But like I said before, getting to heaven is difficult. So we don't make that climb towards heaven despairingly, but rather we do it with great joy because, in the words of Victor Hugo, when I look at all of you and when we look at our neighbor, we experience Christ, and to use his own words, we see the face of God. Thank you, everyone.
Good evening, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Peace and blessings be upon you all. My name is Farah Hadbani. I am the president of the Muslim Student Association. I'm currently a senior here studying systems engineering and minoring in business. Late last April, the George Washington University Muslim Students Association had reached its 30-year anniversary just as I was being elected for this year's presidency. Since my first year of high school, MSA has always been an integral part of my life. As a freshman, I admiringly watched my older sister found our high school's MSA in a school with about 5 practicing Muslims and a community that still had very wary perspectives on Islam. There were about 6 people at our first meeting, 3 of them being non-Muslim. From there, the organization only grew. My sister always made sure to make the MSA more about Islam than it was about Muslims. Soon the MSA had grown to include more non-Muslims than Muslims, as well as previously non-identifying Muslims who feared what the label of Muslim would involuntarily say about them. Seeing the way my sister had so beautifully brought a once segmented community together based on the pure fundamentals of Islam infused inspiration into me that I still feed off of to this day. I later went on to become the president of my high school MSA in my junior and senior years, channeling my sister's dedication and poise to give as much of myself as I could to build a stronger community. About 8 years later, since that first high school MSA meeting, I have been so blessed to stand here before you with the title of GW MSA President. The past several years have been quite the spiritual journey for me personally. While being born into Islam is a blessing, it also means that we must find our faith within ourselves in a way that we cannot fully embrace just by observing the faith in those around us. One of the things that I struggled with the most was trying to determine if I felt closer to God when I was alone or when I was immersed into a group setting, not realizing that they fed directly into each other. While the core of our faith is an exclusive relationship between ourselves and God, we often forget that that relationship can be strengthened by coming together. By turning to one another for support, we often find faith in the places that we least expect them. The more I reflect on it, the more I realize how blessed we are to have the opportunity to congregate as members of our respective faiths in a college setting, to grow spiritually in a time where our lives are so rapidly changing. Especially in our years here at GW, we are making decisions that impact our futures, and it's in times like these that I found our sense of community to be pivotal to our emotional, mental, and spiritual growth. It was throughout this journey that I came to find that God is not somewhere in the skies above us, but in everything around us instead. And how beautiful is it that we have a community as vibrant as this one that allows us to continually find and appreciate our Creator through the world around us and to understand our greater purpose in the universe. Thank you.
Our time together is almost at a close, but I would like to ask all of our 6 student speakers and Brian from the Native American Student Association to stand for one more round of applause. Thank you to President Knapp, the Voice Gospel Choir, and again to our student speakers for contributing to today's Interfaith Dinner. A special thanks also goes out to our colleagues and friends at University Events and Events and Venues, Dick Golden, Ketlea Wankankatap, and Nikki Krikora, who have worked tirelessly to pull together tonight's program. If you are interested in continuing the interfaith discussion, actually tomorrow at the MSSC, 2127 G Street, at 6:45, the GW Interfaith Council will be meeting, and we would love to have any and all of you there if you feel so called. Now, to close this evening, and to honor again GW's celebration of Native American Heritage Month, I would like to share a Native American blessing. Our blessing comes from a Native American two-spirit person. The term two-spirit refers to a belief among some tribes that there are people who manifest both masculine and feminine spiritual connections. According to Native American scholars, many tribes once revered two spirits, viewing them as a third gender with very special contributions to offer to their communities. Today, we might think of two-spirit people as lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender members of our community, who also are very dedicated to cultivating community and harvesting hope. So now, please let us receive our final blessing. May the warm winds of heaven blow softly upon your house. May the Great Spirit bless all who enter there. May your moccasins make happy tracks in many snows. And may the rainbow always touch your shoulder. Thank you very, very much for being here. Have a great evening.